Life throws curveballs when you least expect it, especially when you think you've got it all figured out in your 50s. I was Eleanor, mostly Ellie to everyone, married to Robert for 15 years, stepmom to Dylan since he was a teenager. Dylan. Just saying his name makes me pause. 26 now, all sharp angles and confidence, a presence that fills any room he walks into. I was proud of him, of the man he had become. Then came that day at Saks, and everything shifted. It started innocently. Dylan needed suits for a new job. Robert was predictably out of town. "Why don't I come with you?" I offered. "I know what looks good on you." Harmless, I thought. But looking back, maybe a part of me knew something was brewing. Saks was buzzing for a weekday. Chatter echoed off the marble floors. I'd envisioned a quick, quiet trip, but stepping into the designer menswear section with Dylan by my side, I knew this was going to be anything but. Dylan scanned the racks with practiced nonchalance, hands gliding over the expensive fabrics. He always had this air of composure, a trait that sometimes unnerved me. He carried himself older than his years, and lately I'd been noticing it more than I should. "I'm lost," he said, glancing at me, a small smile playing on his lips. "That's why I'm here," I replied, stepping ahead. "Left to your own devices, you'd grab another black suit." He chuckled. "Black is timeless, isn't it?" Timeless, yes. Exciting, no? I pulled a navy jacket from the rack. "Try this." He raised an eyebrow but took it. Dylan trusted my taste, always had, even as a sullen teen when I'd helped pick his school clothes. Back then, I was the pragmatic stepmom, smoothing things over between him and Robert. Now it felt different. Dylan disappeared into a dressing room while I browsed, grabbing more options. Returning to the fitting area, the attendant looked frazzled, juggling clothes and gesturing at occupied rooms. "Sorry, ma'am, completely full. Might be a wait." "No problem," I said, glancing at Dylan's stall. "Just bringing these to my—" I paused. To my son. The word felt foreign, even though I'd said it 1,000,000 times. I knocked lightly. "Dylan, got more for you." The door cracked open, his face appearing. Perfect timing, almost done. He stepped back, letting me in, taking the hangers. "Ellie, you don't have to. It's packed." I brushed past him, not standing out there like a pack mule. The space was tiny, barely room for two. Dylan shrugged, unfazed, and turned his back to shed his shirt. I tried not to look, focusing on the racks, but the mirror betrayed me. His reflection caught my eye, unguarded, sharp. Broad shoulders, defined, tensed as he slipped on the jacket. Perfect fit, hugging his frame in a way that was both sharp and undeniably striking. "Well?" he asked, turning to face me. I snapped out of it, stepping forward to adjust the lapels. "Good." Snug in the shoulders, though, my voice steadier than I felt. Dylan smiled, watching me smooth the fabric. "You've got an eye. No wonder Dad lets you pick his clothes." I froze. Robert. Gone for weeks on another business trip. I pushed the thought away, stepping back, avoiding Dylan's gaze. "Try the blue one next," I said quickly, grabbing the hanger. He unbuttoned the jacket, movement slow, deliberate. The air felt thick. Too late, I realized I was still in his way. "Ellie," he said, softer now. "Yes?" "You don't have to stay. I can manage." I should have left. Knew it, but instead I smiled weakly. "Someone has to make sure you don't look ridiculous." He laughed, low and rich. Then he stepped closer, brushing past me for the next jacket. A hint of cologne lingered between us. The mall noise faded. "Blue, huh?" he said, breaking the silence. "You sure about this one?" "It'll bring out your eyes," I blurted, regretting how personal it sounded. Dylan held my gaze longer than necessary, then slipped on the jacket, facing the mirror. "What do you think?" I forced focus, stepping closer to adjust the cuffs. "Good. Really good." He looked at me, not the mirror, directly at me. A pang, something nameless. "You know," he said, voice low, "I never thanked you. For everything." "Dylan," I started, flustered. "I mean it," he continued. "You've always been there, more than my own mother ever was. And here you are, still taking care of me." His words rippled through me, warmth and unease. I managed a weak smile. "That's what family's for." For a moment, neither of us moved. The space felt charged, unspoken. Then, a sharp knock shattered it. "Everything okay in there?" the attendant called. I stepped back, cheeks burning. "Yes, fine," my voice too bright. Dylan smiled faintly, unreadable. "Guess we should wrap it up." "Right." I muttered, grabbing hangers, hands trembling slightly, hoping he didn't notice. We left the fitting room, tension a shadow between us, heading to the register. Dylan walked closer than usual, shoulder brushing mine. Coincidence, I told myself. Deep down, I knew better. The drive home was quiet. Dylan beside me, arm resting on the door, eyes on the passing scenery. Tire hum should have been soothing, but it left too much space for thoughts to spiral. Nothing happened, I reminded myself. Fleeting moment, blown out of proportion in my head. But I couldn't shake Dylan's face, his eyes on mine in that tiny space. Ellie? His voice jolted me. I gripped the wheel. Yes? You're quiet. Usually you're giving me grief about my driving. I forced a chuckle. Maybe I'm tired of losing. He smiled, that disarming grin, and leaned back. I really appreciate you coming today. I'd have ended up with something boring alone. You're welcome, I said, eyes on the road. Gotta uphold my reputation. Can't have my stepson looking like he raided a thrift store. The banter helped, briefly. Pulling into the driveway, the weight of home settled in. Robert wouldn't be back till next week. The house would be quiet. Too quiet. I turned off the engine, glanced at Dylan. Leave the bags, I'll get them later. Sure. He got out. I watched him stretch, afternoon sun on his jaw, a smirk still playing on his lips. Shook my head, focused. Inside, cooler, air conditioning hum breaking the silence. Dylan headed upstairs, footsteps echoing. I busied myself in the kitchen, unloading groceries, mindless task to settle my thoughts. But even arranging fridge shelves, folding bags, I replayed the dressing room moment. His voice, his closeness, heart betraying me. Ellie? I jumped, spinning to find Dylan leaning in the doorway, hair damp from a shower, t-shirt and jeans, effortless. Scared me, I said, laughing nervously. Sorry, he said, smile suggesting otherwise. Wondering if you wanted to watch something later, movie or whatever. Simple request, but the casual intimacy caught me off guard. We'd done this before, lazy evenings. But now, different. Sure, I said finally. Let me finish here. That evening, living room. Dylan lounged on the couch, legs stretched out. I curled in the armchair, whined. Action movie I didn't recognize, plot lost on me. Imagining things, I told myself, when he glanced my way more than usual, shifted closer, less space. Reading too much into it, guilt distorting reality. Then he spoke, voice soft. Ellie, can I ask something? I looked up, startled by the tone. Of course. He hesitated, eyes flicking to the screen, then back to me. Earlier, at Saks. Was everything okay? Caught off guard. Why wouldn't it be? I said too quickly. He studied me. I don't know. You seem different. Bothered. I laughed, brittle, unconvincing. You're imagining things. Maybe, he said, tone unconvinced. Air heavier, room smaller. His gaze lingered, warm, searching. I forced focus on the screen. Explosions, gunfire. Dylan shifted again, leaning forward, elbows on knees. You've always been there for me, Ellie, he said quietly. More than anyone. Hope you know how much that means. Sincerity sent a pang. I set my glass down carefully, afraid of shaking hands. Just doing what any parent would, I said, tone light. Not every parent, he replied, whisper. I glanced at him, unable to stop myself. Shadowed face, eyes bright, steady, knowing. I mean it, he said. You've always been more than just my stepmom. You've always made me feel like I mattered, heart twisted. Couldn't find my voice. Finally, softer than intended. You do matter, Dylan. You always have. Silence. Thick with unsaid things, fragile tension. I stood, clearing my throat. Late, I said, avoiding his gaze. Sleep. Dylan nodded slowly, unreadable expression. Good night, Ellie. Good night. I turned, left the room, steps quick. Climbed stairs, shut the door, flurry of emotion swept over me. Guilt, confusion, something deeper, unnamed. Leaned against the door, heart pounding in the quiet darkness. Whatever was happening, couldn't ignore it anymore. Days that followed, quiet storm. Charged moments, never quite spilling over, leaving tension trails. Dylan and I danced around each other, polite interactions underpinned by something unnamed, unwanted. Robert called once that week, voice distant, rushed. Everything all right at home? He asked. I assured him it was. Didn't mention Dylan lingering in the kitchen, offering help he'd never cared about. Didn't tell him about catching Dylan watching me from across the room, gaze steady. Or sweaters I started wearing, hiding the heat rising under his attention. Nothing, I told myself. A phase. Deep down, I knew better. One evening, week after Saks, Dylan found me in the backyard, herb garden, sunset, long shadows across the lawn, basil and lavender scent. You spend a lot of time here, he said, stepping onto the patio. Peaceful, I replied, without looking up, hands in soil, cool earth grounding me. He crouched beside me, solid weight in the twilight. Never got it before, he said, voice low. Why you cared about this garden. But now? He trailed off, hand over rosemary leaves. I glanced at him, heart catching at softened features in fading light. Now? He smiled faintly. Now I think I understand. It's about having something that's yours. Something you nurture, even when everything else feels chaotic. Didn't know what to say. Focused on soil, patting it down too hard. You've been quiet lately, he said after a moment. Have I? I asked, though we both knew. Yeah, miss when you tell me off for shoes by the door, complain about laundry. I laughed, a breath, shaking my head. Maybe I'm tired of nagging, or maybe you're tired of pretending. Words hung heavy, unspoken too long. I froze, hands still in dirt. Dylan. It's okay, he said quickly, gentle. Don't have to say anything, just wanted you to know I notice. I'm here. Swallowed hard, throat tight. He reached out, hand brushing mine. Warm touch, shiver, pulled back sharply, rising. Should finish up, I said, voice too bright, forced, getting dark. Dylan stood, slow, deliberate, didn't press, didn't stop me as I gathered tools, hurried inside. But weight of his gaze followed, lingering long after I shut the door. Later that week, neighborhood barbecue. Loud, boisterous, John's down the street. Robert and I, every year, him gone, debated skipping. You should go, Dylan said at breakfast. Cooped up all week. What about you? I asked. I'll come, he said, surprising me. Nice to get out. That evening, barbecue, navigating the crowd, practiced ease, grilled meat smell, laughter. For a while, forgot everything else. But as evening wore on, increasingly aware of Dylan's presence. Staying close, arm brushing mine, shielding me from the crowd, wordlessly. Susan, my friend, sidled up, knowing smile. Look at you, she teased, nodding at Dylan. Quite the bodyguard tonight. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. Just being polite. Polite, please. Half the women swooning hasn't taken eyes off you all night. Forced a smile, heat creeping up my neck. Imagining things, Susan. She shrugged, whine. If you say so. Home, weight of the day settled. Dylan and I barely spoke walking inside, lost in thoughts. Thanks for coming, I said, breaking silence. Anytime, he replied softly. Turned to head upstairs, his voice stopped me. Ellie? I looked back, heart pounding. Doorway, dim light, shadows on his face. Yeah? He hesitated, unreadable. Good night. Good night, I said, word inadequate. Too small for everything unspoken. Climbed stairs slowly, steps heavy, reached my room, shut the door, couldn't ignore the truth anymore. Something shifted, couldn't undo it, and no matter how hard I tried, couldn't stop wanting to see where it led. Robert's voice on the phone, first sign everything could crumble. Late afternoon, living room with Dylan. He sprawled on the couch, magazine, me nearby, tea. House calm, comfortable quiet I savored in Robert's absence. Phone buzzed on the coffee table. Robert. His calls abrupt, unannounced, timed reminders. Hi, Robert, I said, forcing cheerfulness. Ellie, good news, he said, no preamble. Conference wrapped early, flying back tonight. Froze, breath catching. Tonight? Thought you weren't back till Friday. Pointless staying if it's done. Home by 10. Don't wait up. Line dead. Lowered phone slowly, staring, as if it held answers to why my world was unraveling. Dylan's voice broke silence. He's coming back? I looked at him startled. How? Your face, he said simply, sitting up. Yes, I said, setting phone down, trembling fingers. He'll be here tonight. Dylan leaned back, unreadable. Don't seem thrilled. Hesitated, searching for words. Just unexpected, unprepared. Neither was I, he murmured, gaze steady on mine. Weight of his words settled, heavy, undeniable. Looked away, tea, swirling liquid for clarity. Evening passed in haze of half-hearted tidying, restless pacing. Cleaning for Robert, I told myself. ignoring tension coiling tighter. Dylan disappeared upstairs after dinner, leaving me alone with thoughts. Ticking clock. Robert's car in the driveway, nerves frayed. Hallway, smoothing blouse. Front door opened, he stepped in. "Ellie," he said, setting briefcase down. "Didn't have to wait up." "Couldn't sleep," I lied, forced smile. Robert looked older, features lined with exhaustion. Kissed my cheek, mechanical, cold. "Where's Dylan?" he asked, glancing around. "Upstairs, I think," I replied. "Bed early." Robert nodded absently, heading to kitchen. "Drink, then bed. Catch up tomorrow." "Of course," I said, relief flooding through. Watched him disappear, feeling walls closing in. Real test, next morning. Robert up early, breakfast table, coffee, paper. Kitchen, toast and eggs, Dylan by the counter, coffee. Unbearable tension. Every glance, movement, magnified. Robert might sense the invisible thread between Dylan and me. "So, what's new?" Robert asked, glancing between us. "Not much," I said quickly, setting plate. "Just the usual." Sipped coffee, eyes narrowed slightly. "Dylan, keeping your mother company while I was gone?" Casual mother twisted my stomach. Dylan unfazed. "Of course," he said smoothly, tone light. "Shopping, barbecue with neighbors, nothing exciting." Robert nodded, seemingly satisfied. But Dylan's gaze on me, silent reminder of secrets. Later, afternoon, things unraveled. Robert at office, work. Dylan and I alone. Thought I'd breathe, fate had other plans. Laundry room, sorting clothes, Robert's voice from hall. "Ellie, forgot my keys." Blood ran cold. Heard door open. "Coming," I called, trembling voice, dropped clothes, rushed toward sound. Rounded corner, coat rack, briefcase, Dylan at top of stairs just as I reached hall. Calm expression, tense posture. "Thought you were at work," I said, forced laugh, handing Robert keys from counter. "Halfway there, realized I left these," he said, holding them up. "Good thing I wasn't far." Gaze shifted to Dylan, leaning against banister, arms crossed. "What were you up to?" Robert asked, tone light, eyes sharp. "Just heading out," Dylan said easily. "Errands." Robert nodded, expression lingering on Dylan a moment too long, then back to me. "Keeping busy, I see." "Always," I said, brittle smile. Kissed my cheek again, headed out no word. Car faded, I exhaled sharply, leaning against counter. "That was close," I muttered. Dylan descended stairs, slow, deliberate. "Too close," he agreed, voice low. I looked up, heart racing. "Dylan, we can't—" "Be careful," he interrupted, steady tone. "But I'm not walking away from this. Shiver, fear, and something dangerous. Don't know if we can keep this up." I whispered to myself. "We will," he said simply, "because we don't have a choice anymore." Confidence should have scared me, made me run. Instead, anchored me, pulling me deeper. Standing there, pulse pounding, realized he was right. Secrets changed the air. Ordinary glance, passing touch, loaded gesture. Every moment, possibility and risk. Used to it now. Constant balancing act. Maintaining appearances, navigating turbulent undercurrent. But nothing prepared me for that night's storm. Started innocently. Robert working late again. Office, keyboard clacking faintly. Dylan and I, living room, TV flickering, companionable silence. Surface silence. Room brimming with unsaid things. Stole a glance at him, corner of my eye. Couch, far end, relaxed posture, attention elsewhere. Confident, unbothered air, knot in my chest tightened. "Ellie," he said suddenly, voice cutting through stillness. I looked at him, startled. "Yes?" He hesitated, expression softening, vulnerable. "Are you happy?" Caught off guard. "Why ask?" I said, quieter than intended. "Because I've been watching you," he replied, "and I don't think you are." Stared at him, heart pounding. There it was again, quiet, unshakable way he saw through me, peeling back pretense. "Dylan," I trailed off. "It's not that simple." "Maybe it is," he said, shifting closer. "Maybe you're just too afraid to admit it." Office chair scraping floor, startled both of us. I stood abruptly, smoothing blouse, motioned to erase the moment. "I should—" "Ellie." Dylan's voice firm, steady, cutting through excuses. I turned to face him, heart racing. Before either of us spoke, Robert's voice from hallway. "Ellie, where's that file on the counter?" "Kitchen," I replied, steady voice, despite chaos inside. Robert appeared, brow furrowed, perpetually distracted look. Didn't glance at Dylan, retrieved file, disappeared back to office, door closing softly. I exhaled slowly, tension thick. Dylan stood, deliberate movements, crossed room to stand before me. Can't keep doing this, he said quietly. Doing what? I asked, though we both knew. Pretending, he said, eyes locking onto mine. You deserve more than this, Ellie. You deserve to be happy. Sincerity broke something in me. For a moment, I let myself believe him. Imagined different life. Unbound by obligations, expectations. Reality crashed back quickly. I can't, I whispered, voice cracking. You don't understand. I understand more than you think, he said, unwavering tone. I stepped back, shaking head. Dylan, this has to stop. Whatever this is, it's not right. Do you really believe that? He asked, voice low, insistent. Or are you just telling yourself that because it's easier than facing the truth? Words struck a nerve. I turned away, unable to look. Think you should go, I said, voice barely audible. Moment, thought he might argue. Instead, he stepped back. Fine, he said, tone softening. But this isn't over, Ellie. Not for me. Days blurred. Dylan scarce, out of house or locked in room. Robert, oblivious, routine. Never questioned the shift in the air. I threw myself into distractions, cleaning, gardening, anything to occupy mind, but couldn't shake Dylan's words, weight in my chest. Then, one evening, envelope on kitchen counter. My name, Dylan's familiar script. Trembling hands, opened it. Single sheet of paper. Ellie, I meant what I said. You deserve to be happy. If that means walking away, I'll do it. But if you ever change your mind, I'll be waiting. Tears came, hot, unwelcome. Clutched letter to chest, enormity of his words washing over me. In the end, I made my choice. I stayed. Not because I didn't care for Dylan. I did, more than I admitted, even to myself. But the weight of everything else, promises, life built, too much to walk away from. Robert never noticed the change, or if he did, never said anything. Life as usual, as if ground hadn't shifted beneath our feet. Dylan kept his promise. Walked away, but not entirely. Still moments, fleeting glances, accidental touches, unsaid words. We both knew the line. Crossing it meant losing everything. So we stayed on opposite sides, tethered by a bond we couldn't break, dared not name. Tried to tell myself it was enough. Part of me knew it never would be.